días. Pues allí donde yo me encontraba se escuchó una explosión que hizo temblar las ventanas del lugar en donde me encontraba. Yo traté de abrir y mirar qué era lo que había sucedido, si de pronto había algún sonido de sirena, de algún tipo de ambulancia, pero nada. Así que los parisinos lo que hicieron también fue preguntar en las redes sociales qué es lo que había pasado.
With all the smoke in the air, plenty of people were justifiably nervous when a loud boom shook West Vancouver just before noon today. A Vancouver Fire Department spokesperson says it was likely a propane bottle that hadn't been properly drained and ended up in a shredder at Pacific Coast Shredding on Port Way at the Port of Vancouver.
A swarm of earthquakes near the Salton Sea continues today and could continue for several days. We have video from Westmoreland where the quakes are centered. There were 28 quakes from 11 p.m. last night through 10 this morning, ranging in magnitude 2.5 to 3.6. The USGS recorded the first quakes around 4 yesterday afternoon. During this earthquake swarm, the probability of larger quakes in that area is significantly greater than usual.
Breaking news live at 6. Dozens of earthquakes now continuing to rattle the area just south of the Salton Sea. Some people in the valley now feeling some of that shaking. In fact, the largest, a 4.9 earthquake happening in just the last half hour.
The swarm of hundreds of earthquakes continue to rattle those who live south of the Salton Sea in Imperial County, the largest yet, measuring in at 4.9. Now an expert says aftershocks or even a larger quake could be felt in weeks to come.
Hundreds of small earthquakes rattled Westmoreland homes Wednesday afternoon.
But they were constant. They were like every 10-15 minutes. Some were like little ones, but there was some that like really shook the house.
Lopez says she had to take down her picture frames.
Break all the frames down. In our rooms, you'll see all the picture frames down.
Dozens of those shakes range from 2.5 to 4.9 magnitude, just southeast of the Salton Sea. Seismologist expert Dr. Lucy Jones explains that this is very common for that area, and aftershocks could last for a month in Imperial County, increasing the probability for a larger one.
The chance of a 5 plus at the same location where the swarm is going on is relatively high.
Dr. Jones says it's less likely to impact the San Andreas Fault. It's too far away.
None of us are looking at the San Andreas as a likely trigger point on this.
Although Desert Hot Springs had 2 earthquakes last week near the San Andreas Fault, the risk is still very low.
Today's quakes come after about 20 small quakes since mid-August. One theory has to do with the makeup of the ground along the fault.
Several viewers emailed asking if this means the big one could come soon. Westmoreland is not part of the San Andreas or Imperial Fault, but Abbott says it's impossible to know.
It's always a possibility that this might unstabilize or destabilize and cause one of those to move. But history tells us that these swarms are usually unique events.
Did you see it? It didn't last long, but it was bright. A large fireball burning in the sky early this morning.
A flash of light zooms across the sky over parts of Pennsylvania and Ohio. A witness capturing the streak of light on video as it passed across Pennsylvania.
Whoa, anybody see that flash of light? Something just came streaking across the sky.
It's all anyone's been talking about. And now we are learning more about that bright flash across the sky. Social media was glowing with sightings of that giant meteor on the East Coast all day. In fact, there were over 700 reports from 15 states. So we asked the expert today, why was this one so big and so bright?
Sometimes they're very small, and I mean small. Just think, smaller than a grain of rice, smaller than a piece of sand will light up the sky. It's amazing. And in this case, it was probably a rock, maybe smaller than the size of my palm of my hand here. The cloud glowed that it left behind glowed for about 30 seconds. That's how hot it was.
As far as the landing, Reynolds predicts the meteor's journey ended somewhere south of Youngstown.
Major rescue operation unfolding in Tasmania this morning. Hundreds of pilot whales stranded in Macquarie Heads on the state's west coast. Awful to look at, isn't it?
It's a depressing sight. A pod of pilot whales, some 500 strong, trapped on the western shore of Tasmania. Despite 2 days of a difficult and dangerous rescue attempt, most are already dead, and only a few dozen have been freed. Conservationists say it's worth the effort. The ones who make it out will thrive in the wild.
Our focus is obviously on the rescue of live individuals at the moment. In the back of our minds is always what happened here. Typically we don't get any answers.
Although we don't know why mass beachings happen, one key factor appears to be the whales' tight social cohesion. The bond between them is so strong that even once rescued, many turn around and beach themselves again.
The reasons potentially might be is because they're wanting to return back to the pod. They might hear the acoustics or the vocalizations or the sounds that the others are making, or they're just disorientated, in this case, extremely stressed.
In other news, high winds in California's wine country are whipping up that already devastating wildfire out there. Multiple wildfires in California. The Glass Fire has burned more than 58,000 acres since it started Sunday.
Fires have destroyed 26 times more land in the state this year than last.
The blazes have destroyed property and forced many more people from their homes. They're only the latest in a series of wildfires that have caused chaos in the past few weeks.
The state of emergency in Northern California's wine country triggered just as hundreds of homes go up in flames and more than 20,000 are still under threat, with 3 major fires now converging into one monster blaze.
Driving through Yosemite National Park, a convoy fleeing the flames. Rangers leading the way as a number of tourists had to be evacuated. It looked like a fairly perilous trip. Dark clouds above, burning trees never far away. This is just one of a series of fires burning through central and northern California. High temperatures, precious little rain. It is a dangerous combination.
Mother Nature is something that we don't try to guess.
It's a race against time and the elements. The increasingly hot, windy weather is giving the Glass Fire everything it needs to grow.
With nearly 19,000 firefighters on the front lines across California, exhausted crews are still battling 5 of the 6 largest infernos in state history.
Newly released video shows the magnitude of the battle. This is what firefighters are seeing, driving through a flame-filled landscape where homes are already fully engulfed by fire, creating red-hot pools along the roadside.
To give you a bit more perspective, over the summer there's been 44,000 wildfires across the West that have eaten up more than 7.1 million acres.
This nightmare a new reality in an unrelenting fire season.
And with more hot weather on the way, the danger is still present.
And finally, you may be noticing the sunlight hours are starting to decrease each day. And you know what that means? No, not that winter is coming. I'm talking about good news here. It's sunset season, and yeah, they are not disappointing. We love this time of year. The quality of light changes. It gets more yellow and the shadows get sharper. We get incredible sunsets in the Pacific Northwest, and they always make you feel good. So take note and make it a point to get outside, take it all in, and appreciate the natural beauty of this place we call home.